What's up, guys? Welcome back to the That's So Dev podcast. My name is Dev. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If this is your first time, I appreciate you. If you're returning, you're iconic. I appreciate you too. Now, we have some tea to get into today. Y'all already know. But before we get into this tea, make sure you go ahead and follow me at That's So Dev on Twitter, Instagram, and literally everywhere else. Especially YouTube. We popping over there. Go ahead and subscribe. Now, for the tea. Riverdale. I am recording this the day before the series finale. I'm not feeling too many emotions, but I'm feeling a minimal amount. If you would have asked me 6-7 months ago how I would be feeling right now, I would have probably told you completely opposite. I'm just gonna be honest. While I can appreciate the story that this season is telling, I think that Riverdale can be conscious when they want to. They've touched on some real life stories, and I like the spin that they've put on Riverdale lately. I just feel that the quality of the writing has increased ever since season 3 and season 4, because season 3, I don't know what that was, and season 4 was really kind of like it's roundabout to get on the right track, and I feel like season 5 it was kind of like, oh, light bulb is popping on, you know what I mean? And I think that season 6 was a real execution of what Riverdale could be. I thought that there was a real destination, there was a finish line, and I thought, incorporating Riverdale into season 6, making that, a portion of its own thing and having that bleed into the rest of the season, it really added layers and context, and it just, getting that as season 6 and then turning around into this, we're all kind of thinking, oh, this may kind of be the same thing. They tell us, at least 10 episodes. And, at the time, we weren't even thinking 10 episodes. We were thinking, kind of like a Riverdale situation where, they'll go to the 50s and they'll find their way back or whatever. And, something along those lines. That's not the case. So they have essentially spent the entire season inside the 50s. I don't know what the decision was behind that, but it was, in fact, dumb. We have 6 whole seasons prior to the 7th season of Riverdale, right? And we have grown to love all of these characters as they were for the past 6 seasons. So we essentially just have kind of been relearning the same characters this season. I don't know, I've been hearing a lot about, the way that they filmed it and being in the 50s, it really put them in a position to be able to, have everybody in the same rooms and how the dynamics were different at the end of the show. I'm like, that is what happens. That happens, that naturally happens. That is what happens when you have character growth and you stick to it, That's how you build characters. That's how you, appreciate your viewers for sticking with the characters and being loyal with the characters, because these characters that they've been in love with for 6 seasons, they've got attached to. So to give them a completely new character, or essentially the same character, just rewritten at this point, it's like rebooting your own show, and nobody's really asking for that at all. I mean, I'm not really sure who. I thought it was a gag, going to the 50s as a quick thing. But, it being this whole long season has made it just feel like, again, there's no destination. The way that they try to, for one, implement, we'll implement the milkman here, the mugs here, plant things so that way they can try to do this connects type of Riverdale moment that they usually can execute. You know what I mean? They usually can at least execute that, but there is no true moment where I'm like, oh my God, the story was just so good. The mystery really came together. Like, the mystery was very lackluster. You can tell nothing was put into it. It wasn't the focus. And, they just really tried to recreate moments that we've already seen. And we don't want that. We don't want that. We've seen High School Riverdale for 4 seasons, and it bled into the first couple episodes of season 5. So nobody wanted that. Shows where characters die, do they really come back? No, not everybody can have a scene together. That's not always what's gonna happen. Don't ruin the story or a show just so that you can have a honky-dory ending behind the scenes, because what's the point of the entire journey that you just took your viewers on? And this is a big issue that I have with Roberto Sacasa. It's, oh my goodness, you know what I mean? Like, he's what I will put first with positivity. He can execute a first season. It is so quality. It's vibrant. It's attracting. It really draws you in. These characters are screaming, "Stand me," genuinely, you know? But after that first season, I don't know what the hell happens. I'm pretty sure that's when the writers' room really step in and things go downhill. Because when a writers' room come in, 9 times out of 10, the quality drops. And it is just the most annoying thing in the world. Because it's like, what do you mean? You got a writer's room. If anything, there should be more complexity here. There should be more range here. You know what I mean? Like, what is the issue? Because I felt like a lot of the issues, a lot of the time, is that Riverdale didn't really reflect, what the real world looks like. And I do hold Roberto a lot responsible for that, because why are you not fighting to create that environment? Why do you have token black people and, token people all on this set? Why isn't it a proper representation? And I really didn't like that. I don't feel that he has had proper representation, generally speaking. I mean, we've had Chuck. Where did Chuck go? Where did Monroe go? You know what I mean? I understand that people have, probably different bookings later on, go different directions or whatnot, but there's just, I'm not really sure where the dark-skinned characters are, because even down to Josie, the most consistent dark-skinned character they have given her consistently shit. So, it's giving absolute bare minimum, and I just can't. It literally makes me like it y'all. And that's what frustrates me about Pretty Little Liars, because it's on its first season. Katie King got canceled. Honestly, maybe I'm kind of like, yay, because it doesn't get to get ruined for me. Look at Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, how that progressively got ruined as it went on. And it's just like with every single show you do this, you pull people in, you have a really good story, you know how to execute that first season, but right after you get people pulled in, you kind of just fuck with them. No, generally, it feels like with his shows that he messes with his viewers, and then the conclusion to the shows are so unsatisfying, it's not even funny. And then when I also continuously look down his track record, I look at the freaking Glee seasons that he had. You know what I mean? Like, when did Glee go downhill? Look at when this man is involved, and look at when Glee starts to go downhill. And it just is like, you consistently kind of have an issue here where I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Like, you know what I mean? And when I look at Glee, especially in Glee season 4 and 5 and even 6, there's kind of like this kookiness that Riverdale kind of has that I'm kind of like, this kind of got you written all over it too. And I just can't. I am so sorry. I don't know this man personally. This is really not a personal dig. But as a viewer, it's just really upsetting. And it makes me not want to get invested in any of his TV shows. I truthfully hope that Pretty Little Liars is going to be good the second season, and good the third season if they get one after that, because HBO is cutting things off like it's nothing. And what Pretty Little Liars has going for it is its engagement with social media. That is what gets it to win, always has the fan engagement. So We'll see, because they do times where they watch episodes like it's live TV, and then they live tweet with all the fans. They get everybody to come in and watch, and people will see the hashtag going, and then they'll come and join, and then it'll become a bigger thing. So you know what I mean? Like, Pretty Little Liars is a world beyond Roberto. It's not something he really, put into motion like Riverdale or anything like that. This is something he kind of took on, kind of in a way like he stepped onto Glee. And I had similar concerns when Pretty Little Liars started. I was like, oh my gosh, can you please not touch this series for one? It just ended in 2017. There was just a reboot in 2018. Let me count. 19, 20, 21, 22. So it came out around 2022. It's only been 4 years since Pretty Little Liars, well, the last spinoff, but 5 years since the OG ended. So what reason did we have to reboot Pretty Little Liars? Okay, you made it all right. You made the reboot all right, fine. I'll give you your 10s. But it's not really 10s to me. I'll give you like a 6.5 or to a 7, actually, because I actually enjoyed the characters genuinely. I enjoyed the mothers. I loved the setup, but there was just some minor things that I had issues with, and that took it down automatically from a 10 to an 8, which is fine. And then it was the tie-ins to the OG Pretty Little Liars universe. And first of all, I don't know why on earth the way that they showed off Rosewood, you're seeing it's in the same universe as Pretty Little Liars. I need you to do better with how it's going to look and the aesthetic that you're going to have, because that does not look like... No, it doesn't. No, it just doesn't. Even if it's that far into the future, no. No. Obviously, my dog agrees. Listen to her. Hey, Basil. You okay, girl? Yo. But it's just kind of the fact that we've invested so much time into the show. And the fact that in the final season, it's almost like there's no appreciation for the viewers and the dedicated viewers and the people that watch the show. I mean, can you imagine the people right now who are seeing this, who, stayed after everybody left after the first and second season because they thought it dropped in quality, and people were like, you want to know what? I like the show for what it is. I'm going to stay around for the G&G and the Oregon harvesting farm and, this 5-year jump and all that stuff. And, literally on Twitter fighting for their lives, defending the Riverdale name just to get this final season and absolutely see no rewarding ending for you watching this season or series, period. Whoa, that's awful. Don't make TV. Dude, don't make TV if you're going to do that. I'm sorry. Do not make TV. If you have had a time jump and you have moved the story forward, continuously move the story forward, because you could progress into a Barchi wedding, right? They just got engaged. What everybody has been waiting up to the entire series. And then nobody's really going to see that. Nobody's going to see any of the character progression or development. Well, some of these characters, especially Alice, do not have any development whatsoever. She repeats the same storyline every single season. There's no range. I know what I'm going to expect from her, and I know what she's going to say, and it's just so tired at this point. Anyway, but genuinely, y'all, there are just some characters that I'm just... I have a headache. I have a headache. Because what do you mean? I invested this time for what? And I think, aside from the fact that as a viewer, it just sucks, aside from that, there are TV shows from the CW that got axed, such as Legacies. And Legacies is far more important than Riverdale. I'm sorry, Riverdale has had Katie King canceled, Sabrina canceled. The Riverdale universe has not really survived, other than Riverdale. So it's interesting to me how Legacies didn't get a final season. Legacies, a show part of a franchise and, part of a universe, the Vampire Diaries universe, the Vampire Diaries originals, Legacies, you know what I mean? A show that has contributed to this network and, well, keeping it afloat for several years, decades at this point, right? So what do you mean They don't get a final season, but Riverdale is getting a final season and genuinely wastes it. They wasted a whole season. Wasted all that company's money for what? For what? That's crazy. I'm seeing hardcore day one fans so dissatisfied. And it's so sad. It's to the point to where, and that's why I'm like, and that is exactly, guys, that is exactly why I am like, I'm feeling minimal feelings right now about Riverdale ending, because you have proved to me everything that people have been saying this entire time, despite me defending y'all goddamn name on social media. I'm over here in a full-on brawl, not literally, y'all, but like, you know what I mean? Like, you got viral tweets everywhere going about Riverdale, and I'm over here just tweeting out positivity and all this stuff. You know, I'm going to war. Like, you want to know what? I'm going to counter all of this or whatever. You know what I mean? And like, it's just like, okay, so, oh, the fuck I do all that for? You ain't give a fuck. You ain't show no appreciation to us bitches, who the viewers, mind you, that kept your TV show on the air. If you didn't have those viewers all the time, you wouldn't have a TV show. You wouldn't have a season 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. Well, you wouldn't. So it's interesting. It's interesting, and it's not the fact that the show is set all the way in the 50s per se, right? It's not even that. It's the fact that it's set in the 50s and they went back to high school. It's not even just that, even. They went back to high school and they're the same characters. We live in a lot of the same moments, just like they move the puzzle pieces around. Like, no, bitch, you literally cannot be serious. Like, we are repeating storylines. Why are we repeating storylines? And then imagine, to our surprise, especially people who've grown to love Jabitha, learn that Tabitha is hardly in the season. And nobody felt any reason, like, nothing. They knew fans were going to be pissed because they didn't say a single thing about any of this shit until after it was happening. They knew. They just went ahead and did what needed to be done. If they would have known, a lot of people wouldn't have watched. Because who the hell would have watched this season knowing that they wouldn't have gotten their memories the entire season? After they said only 10 episodes in a 50. So you lied to people. If I saw Roberto, if I got to ask him a question, I would sit down in my seat, I would take the microphone, I would be like, what do you have to say, to fans who were waiting for the 50s to end after 10 episodes after y'all made a statement about that? Boom. What do you have to say about that? I have a lot of questions. I see Lily and all of them like defending the show and whatnot, and it makes sense to me now, to be honest, because they did that interview on set. And I think if they didn't do that on set, it would be a different story. I'm just going to be real, because obviously we know that Riverdale is kooky. We know that Riverdale is crazy. We know that it's just supposed to be, what it is. I don't know the word for Riverdale. There's no word for Riverdale, but it's just is what it is, right? That is the expectation of it. That is how they write it. They say Roberto is in table reads just cracking up because he knows how dumb it is. Okay. That's great. Okay. Like, a lot of what draws people to watch the show is what they believe is coming, what they hope is coming, what they want to see coming, And obviously, as a writer, you can't a lot of times take in what fans or the general public want to see. But I feel like that applied to people like Shonda Rhimes writing Grey's Anatomy stories more so than Roberto writing Riverdale. It's just not in the same context, and I think this is very nasty material going on here. I don't know. This man has to be investigated. Like, I'm sending the FBI at this point. I can't do it. But, I'm going to do a podcast after, the Riverdale episode airs tomorrow. And then I'm actually going to attach it onto this podcast and do kind of like, a part 1 and part 2 all in one podcast. And just honestly kind of go from there, y'all, because there's going to be so much to talk about after the episode. They just learned their memories at the end of the last episode, and they're just getting reacclimated with all of those. Some people didn't remember, most people didn't remember the bad except for really Betty. And, I don't remember if Veronica or Archie did, but it would have been nice if they didn't. But, the characters that we're even seeing, they don't feel like the same characters. They're not the same characters. I hate that we got all of this rushed into the last episode. Why couldn't we at least have had them learn their memories, maybe with about 6, at least 7 episodes left, maybe? Couldn't we have gotten to enjoy them with their memories, at least a little portion of the series? You could have still did that in the same setting. I'm just not really understanding what the thought process was behind all of this. It's very lazy. Anyway, y'all. Now, until the next time, I will be back, like I said, after the next episode. Well, the final episode ever. And I'm not really that sad about it. Again, after the handling of this season, I'm just kind of like, okay, what a good run. 7 seasons, boom, let's end it there. Because honestly, if we had another season, it would just piss me off. It would just piss me off at this point. So, I can't wait to have a conversation with you guys about the next episode and just wrap our heads around the fact that Riverdale is actually ending, which doesn't really sound real, but it is, and it's going to take time to process, and we're going to chat about it and process it together, y'all. All right? Thank you so much. Make sure you go ahead and follow me on social media at ThatSoDev on Twitter, Instagram, and literally everything else. I appreciate you. Thanks for listening. I was about to say thanks for watching, child. This is not YouTube. Anyway, go drink some water, eat some good food, and get some rest, y'all. I will see y'all later, all right? Peace. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the That's So Dev podcast. My name is Dev. Thank you so much for tuning in today. You're iconic. We have some tea to get into. Are we shocked? I know we're not shocked. Okay. Now, before we get into the tea, make sure you go ahead and follow me at That's So Dev on Twitter, Instagram, and literally everywhere else, including YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe. It's kind of popping over there. Okay. So, welcome back to the second part of this podcast. So I pre-recorded the first part prior to the Riverdale series finale. And then I'm doing this a bit after, maybe about 2 weeks after, just so I can sit with everything that I've been thinking in regards to the show. Because there are a lot of things about this show that, obviously, generally, we're kind of like, question mark? But also at the same time, accepting it for what it is. That is the epitome of being someone who likes Riverdale. You just take it for what it is. Like, when you watch the show, you have to have no judgment, no expectation. The only expectation is just entertainment. That is what it is. It don't have to be logical. It don't have to make sense. None of that. And honestly, we're at a point where I think we need to be reminded that fun exists and we need to have fun, because nobody seems to want to have fun, but everybody wants to complain where the fun is. So it's just really interesting to me because, I do believe that Riverdale is going to be something that is remembered. It's going to be something that people come back to and kind of like, they're going to say Riverdale was camp, because Riverdale was camp. It absolutely was. It was one of those things where, it's just like, it's a comic book show. So there are endless possibilities with what they could do. So the teen drama aspect of it, I think, with the first season, it really kind of like set the tone for a lot of people. So I think once it went into kind of a different direction, people were kind of like, oh, wait a minute. Because I don't think the second season was too far. I think the second season was so well done. You could tell the second season was planned by the time they finished the first season. Because, you know, we saw that Fred got shot, and then how it just easily went straight into the second season. Obviously, they tend to do that where they kind of tease at the end of the season what's going to come next. I don't know if they had an idea entirely of what was going to come next. So let me give you an example, because there's a lot of times that this has happened. So we obviously have the time, you know, at the end of season 1 where the Black Hood shot Fred, and, you know, everything surrounding stuff after that we waited into the second season, but you can really see how we saw the Black Hood and, you know, Fred being shot and how that was going to spill into the next season. But then we have, I want to say, what was it season 4 maybe? I want to say maybe was the end, was it the end of season 4? I'm trying to think where they were, or I think it may have been the end of season 3 where they kind of teased this whole, you know, where they burned Jughead's beanie and all that stuff, where they kind of, you know, quote unquote plan something out for the next season. And it didn't exactly pan out the way that they had showcased it, right? Because Riverdale is just like on the spot. Absolutely. Down to the fucking scripts. It is so last minute. How many times cast members have said that they have gotten a script at the last minute? So it's very unsurprising to me that something that they teased at the end of season 4 that they kind of have an idea of, they have no idea what that is actually going to be until that next season comes. And it's just kind of like, what? It's because it often becomes a disappointment to me, because when that season does come and what you teased is not what you actually go and do, it's so annoying. It also kind of happened with the very last okay, well, look, it happened with the last season of Riverdale, right? Season 6. That is the last season to me. I just refuse to acknowledge season 7 as the final season of Riverdale. So, at the end of season 6, it was just kind of like, okay, you know, we're going to the 50s. We, you know, we just left superpower era, right? Comic book show. So who the fuck knows what's coming? We've seen a board game come to life infused with drugs. We've seen an August harvesting farm. Like, we've seen everything under the fucking sun. So seeing superpowers on Riverdale is not, and I do mean is not, surprising to me. And it shouldn't be to anybody else. Probably if you haven't watched season 1, you're probably like, where has this show going? Do you know that this show is the brand of the Archie comics? I'm just saying. It's not Pretty Little Liars. It's not Gossip Girl. So these aspects of potential supernatural things, it's like, it would make sense if it was there. And I had always said that Riverdale would have thrived if it had taken on a new theme each season. And what sucks is they kind of did that towards the end. So like season 5, we really did kind of have a theme season. But the season 5 was, I'm not thinking of season 5. I'm thinking of season 6. So season 6 is quite interesting to me because we do have that little first batch of 5 episodes where it's Riverdale, and then we do have the back end where Riverdale bleeds into Riverdale, and we have this overarching storyline where we have Percival who came from Riverdale, and it's just kind of like, it's so intricate and complex in season 6 that I'm just wondering how they got to that basic ass season 7. It is absolutely just not great to me. It's not great. And again, look, I love the actors. I think the actors make this show. If they did not have the actors that they have, the show probably would have been canceled already. Anyway, so, you know, we're leaving season 6 and whatnot, blah, 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 blah. So we're getting into season 7 now, right? They had already teased the 50s. So in my head, I'm like, okay, we're in the 50s now. You know, we've essentially wrapped up almost everything in season 6 other than what happened after that comment and how it's going to impact things going forward. Instead of them continuing, and ending Riverdale on a good and high note, it, really felt like that Riverdale was making a full circle moment back to, honestly, the Riverdale that I knew. Because I felt like season 6, even though you can say whatever you want to about, the choice of plot, but the writing and the handling of everything was done so well that I thought it was probably the best season since season 1, season 2, just to be entirely honest. So I was really expecting that vibe, especially with the 50s. Like, okay, so we're going to go with this formula again. We're going to be in the 50s for a couple episodes and hop back into the original timeline. Like, that was supposed to be what the tea was. That's what they actually told us. And I've said that a billion times at this point, especially in the first part of this podcast. But, it actually coming to life, because here's the experience, right? I'm watching season 7. I am, ecstatic for season 7. 50s, I can really enjoy this right now because it's not forever. You know what I mean? It's homage to Riverdale, to the Archie comics, right? That needed to be done. I truly do believe that. It was a perfect thing to do. Only if it was something similar to Riverdale. But it was not. And that just made it awful. So, it was awful. And I've defended Riverdale the entire run. But the way that you ended that fucking show, it was like a slap in the face to your viewers. Oh my God. Like, it's one of those things where it's like you've invested so much time into something and the payoff was ass. It was entirely ass. If you ask me, the entire season felt like one big filler season. Like, be so serious. Us saying goodbye to those characters in the series finale, girl, it felt like I was saying goodbye to those characters. Now, let me start from the beginning of the series finale. So, starting off with the old Betty in her granddaughter or whatever. Dumb. Like, dumb, because already you doing this little thing right here has taken away from everybody that we could have learned about, that we had grown to know on Riverdale. You did all of that just so we could not find out, Dr. Colonel, what happened to him? Old ass Betty sitting in that fucking bed took up time for us to know what happened to him. And the way that they just flew over things dying, like, what a terrible series finale. And I do mean terrible. I didn't even finish watching it the first time. I was like, you want to know what? No. I'm just going to wait till it comes on Netflix, watch it from beginning to end. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I haven't even made it past the second episode. I just went straight back to the series finale and it's like, let me just watch this again and just process, because I'm so pissed. It's so funny to me. I'm so fucking pissed. Because you mean to tell, okay, look, here's what I'm gonna give 10s, right? And it's probably the only 10s I'm gonna give on this episode. And it's not even 10s, it's just funny because they're so unserious. Making the core 4 essentially a couple is hilarious. But you wanna know why it's like funny, but not like me giving 10s? It's because it only addresses them in that timeline, right? It only addresses the version of these characters that we know this season. We only knew these characters for 20 episodes. These versions of these characters we only knew for 20 episodes. So, imagine one season on Netflix of 20 episodes and it gets canceled. Do you think if they had a graduation fucking ceremony, do you really fucking think that I would cry? Like, be so serious. There's no emotional connection to these characters. These versions, there's no emotional connection. The emotional connection from the characters that we know, the versions that we know, are simply what's holding us attached to these new versions. That is it. Because it feels like an entirely new show. It feels like they rebooted the show. Literally, it feels like a reboot of the show in the final fucking season. Like, holy shit. Are you joking? I need Roberto Sacasa to stop making TV until he fixes his formula. It's not working, it's not good, and it's not a good payoff for the viewer. It's not worth investing in his shows, and I would recommend not watching any of his shows. Glee. Once he got on fucking Glee, Glee went downhill. Obviously, there was more people on Glee than him. But is it a coincidence that all of these projects that he has hopped on has gone down in quality after the first season that he has been a part of them? He hopped on Glee season 3. What happened after that? Season 4, 5, and motherfucking 6. Be so serious. Sabrina after season 1. What happened after Chilling Adventures of Sabrina? Season 2 and 3. Well, it had parts. It didn't even have season 2 and 3. It only had 2 seasons. They just split it up into 2 parts for whatever fucking reason. That was dumb. Be serious. Katie Keene canceled after the first season. Should I be mad? I'm sad that my Miss Girl, Miss Lucy, can't seem to keep a show on air for at least 2 seasons minimum, but I am not mad that the show itself kind of got canceled because, be serious, we all know what happens after that first fucking season. No. Enough, Roberto. Pretty Little Liars is always... It has always been my favorite show, Pretty Little Liars. That is not a secret. I can watch that 24/7 back to back, and it would feel like I have never seen that bitch. So when he decided to reboot that show, all hell broke loose in my head. I was like, no, absolutely not. And mind you, look, I love a good reboot. I do. I love a good reboot, and I love a good idea of a reboot, right? So like, when the reboot is done right, I really, really love it. When the reboot is not done right, I love the idea of it. I may not like it, right? So not everything needs a reboot. Pretty Little Liars ended in 2017. And then the reboot, which got canceled after season 1, which they didn't even give a chance. Literally, Freeform gave it no chance whatsoever. I'm like, Pretty Little Liars ran your shit for like 7-8 years. You at least owed them a season 2. But anyway, that ended in 2018, mind you. So, interesting, isn't it? So why the hell would we have needed a reboot? When did it come out? Last year, 2022. So let's say the original show ended 2017, 3, that's 5 years. The reboot, The Perfectionist, 4 years. So it has been 4 to 5 years since that show ended. Why the fuck did it need a reboot? Why? For what? For who? Who asked for it? See, now, the thing about it is, it sucks because Roberto's going to eat a first season that he's on. The first season of a show that he is on, whether it is the very first season or the first season he has decided to work on it, right? It doesn't matter. Those very first seasons are going to be good. It's going to be quality. You're going to love the characters. It's going to pull you in. And it's just going to be like what you expect it's what you would expect a show of this time to really be. It really captures the essence of a quality show. But, what the fuck happens after that? Well, it's ass. No. Because all of these shows, Sabrina again, it went on, let's say, 4 parts. 2 seasons, right? But split into 4 parts or whatever. So, all of that time, bitch, no! Be so serious. If I'm investing 7 seasons, and by the end of those 7 seasons, I don't get shit from it, oh, we gotta be so serious. We have to be so serious. From the very beginning of Riverdale, everybody, the characters, the writers, the viewers, everybody knew that Betty and Archie were in game. That was what we were working towards for the end goal in the end game. Fuck a Varchi. It was never organic, even though the actors had chemistry. The characters, no, they just did not fit. Buckhead did not fit, although the actors had chemistry. We all knew what the show was working towards. But instead, we got a fucking foursome. I just can't. You know, the show is just, oh, thank God that bitch is over. I have never said that. I literally never before season 4 have I said I can't wait for Riverdale to end. But by the time I found out that the 10 episodes of, you know, in the 50s were turning into the whole season in the 50s, I said no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think that is the worst thing that they could have done. You know, we discussed how Pretty Little Liars, the ending, was questionable to a lot of people. And, you know, I don't know. Because I kind of enjoyed it in a way. I think that it created space for not too much letdown. Because we really kind of see how things wrap up in the last episode before the series finale. It almost kind of wraps up majority of the stuff without giving a conclusion to the A story. So to me, it felt very fulfilling. And then to see the series finale, it was also kind of fulfilling to me. Do I think that the twin thing came out of nowhere? Do I wish that it was somebody that we knew and it was done a bit better? Yes. But watching the whole season, I thought that Pretty Little Liars, it was just so interesting to see how the story plays a part in every aspect of the show from the very beginning, especially, you know, Spencer having a twin and Mary Drake being her mom. When you look back and rewatch the show, you see so many things that show you that this is the direction that we're going to go in. But you can also see the creativity. And I just thought that Marlene did such a great job with Pretty Little Liars. And unfortunately, Roberto was here to try to ruin it. Anyway, but, you know, the series finale for Riverdale, it wasn't good to me. It wasn't good. You know, the whole Betty's point of view thing was just such a waste of time. Obviously, it was classic that Jughead was going to be like, you know, the main narrator guy. That's just what Jughead is. You know, we know that Archie is the face of the show. We know that Jughead is a narrator. We know that Betty is probably the most popular character. Veronica, I'm not going to say that Veronica's just there, because Veronica is actually very popular. But I don't feel like that she has a significant space inside of Riverdale, which was kind of the whole thing that she never really fit in. And we never really got to explore that. You know, in season 6, Veronica was really finding her place, what was for her, where was she going, what was meant for her. Like, we were genuinely seeing the development of Veronica, despite the many times that the writers have ignored her character development. We really started to see something. And then they decided to wipe all of the character development away, everything away, actually, including the whole universe of Riverdale. So technically, Riverdale literally does not exist in any timeline where Riverdale has been mentioned. So technically, in Pretty Little Liars, think about it, because they wiped that whole fucking timeline. So that would mean Pretty Little Liars does not exist. Because Riverdale is in the world of Pretty Little Liars. So that would mean the original Pretty Little Liars would not exist based on the writing. Do we hear that? And that's what did they think about that? How they implemented Riverdale into different worlds, and how wiping Riverdale would essentially, in writing forms, get rid of shit? Did they think about how their worlds connect? Or was this just kind of just cute and for fun? I have to know. Because logically, it don't make fucking sense. It don't. It does not. Anyway, y'all. Look, I don't have too much to say. I've said what I needed to say. That finale was absolutely ass. The last season of Riverdale was ass. I thought it was one big filler season, and that's just that. There's nothing else for me to overview or review. It's unfortunate, but it's true. I hate that the show went out this way. I wanted more than anything for this show to go out on top. Season 5 and Season 6 really showed me that it could recover from Season 3 and Season 4. Season 5 may had, dropped off a bit on the back end, but it surely picked the fuck up. The entire Season 6 was consistent to me. I don't know what the fuck happened. But anyway, y'all. Well, this would be my last podcast where I'm going to talk about Riverdale because, well, Riverdale's over. So I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for listening. Thank you for chatting with me today. I'm going to miss Riverdale. I am. I'm going to watch it on a continuous loop. Will I continuously watch season 7 on the loop? I don't know, but definitely seasons 1 through 6. That's going to be for sure. But yeah, guys, thank you again. I'm going to hop off here. Make sure you drink some water, eat some good food, take care of yourself. And yeah, I'm going to go get some Starbucks and cake because I love myself. All right, y'all. All right, I'm out of here now. I'm so serious. Peace.